Deviljho, the world eater and ever-hungry nomadic king of the brute wyverns from Capcom's Monster Hunter series, faces off against the Carnosaur, a primordial and savage force of nature that terrorizes the steaming jungles of Lustria from Games Workshop's Warhammer Fantasy. Stick around till the end as we break down which one of these two walking extinction events will come out on top in a head-to-head Bestial Brawl. In this new series, we will take powerful beasts, real or imagined, and put them face to face in a hypothetical battle scenario. In the case of Deviljho versus the Carnosaur, we will use a combination of lore and in-game stats to translate into battle analysis attributes. We will also be using only the most basic variants of these creatures, meaning the traits of stronger incarnations, such as the Savage Deviljho, will not be taken into account. For a brawl to take place between these two, we must establish just where it'll all go down. And for this episode, it's pretty clear. The Deviljho is known for being an invasive species, crossing thousands of miles in search of food. The savage jungles of Lustria are teeming with large dinosaurs for the dread pickle to feast on. Deviljho will arrive via a Chaos Rift, which some way or another has manifested in the world of Monster Hunter. Deviljho travels through this portal, attracted to the many strange smells and sounds. After an indefinite period of darkness, Deviljho arrives in Lustria, greeted with a menagerie of smells and a grumble in his belly. The most consistent measurements I've found for Deviljho put him around 20 meters in length and just under 6 meters tall. The Carnosaur is described as 2 stories tall, which at bare minimum is about 20 feet or 6 meters, putting both of our brawlers at around the same height. If we put the Carnosaur next to Deviljho, then he appears to be about 15 meters long. Now, in terms of weight for both of these dinosaurs, I've found nothing consistent, but if we're gonna be honest, there's no need for any crazy calculations here. This round clearly goes to Deviljho. We pretty consistently see that Deviljho has the strength to throw around other wyverns. Despite being his same size and heavier than him, Deviljho manages to lift monsters as large as Diablos over his head. Carnosaurs rely on their size and mass to knock down large opponents. They are anti-large units within the game, and within the lore, they are portrayed as being able to take down enemies far larger than them, so we can presume they are pretty strong animals, but we just don't get nearly as obvious an example of raw strength as we do with Deviljho, who can throw around other monsters in a sort of powerlifting manner, meaning this round goes to Deviljho. Unfortunately, we don't have any official speeds attributed to these monsters within their own lore, but we can take hints from their in-game stats and behavior to draw a conclusion. For the Carnosaur, we do have a decent reference for their top speed. In Total War Warhammer 3, each unit has a speed stat, with the Carnosaur having a speed of 75, comparable to armored cavalry units like the Empire Knights, meaning at least in-game, the Carnosaur runs across the battlefield at somewhere between 24 to 32 kilometers per hour, going off the top speeds of armored cavalry. While he is faster than most, if not all, other brute wyverns, within the game we don't see Deviljho do much full sprinting like we do with the Carnosaur. We really only see him trot from one area of the map to another when fleeing the player, so we may never know what his real top running speed is. However, this is a brawl and not a relay race. That's where agility comes in, and Deviljho is leagues ahead of the Carnosaur in this regard. DJ's absurdly powerful lunge lets him shred through terrain at breakneck speeds. When he leaps at the hunter or other monsters in-game, he can close the distance from across whatever area you're fighting him in faster than you can say pickle. The Carnosaur does not appear to have bursts of speeds anywhere close to that of Deviljho. It does have a sort of similar lunge attack, but it's definitely not as fast, nor does it cover nearly as much distance. We see in Deviljho's turf wars that he has dad levels of reaction speed activated at all times. Deviljho will often parry or stop attacks from other wyverns before they finish winding up. I think it's reasonable to say that the Carnosaur would be faster than Deviljho in pure running speed. The type of speed the Carnosaur employs is for pursuit and warfare, but Deviljho is far faster in terms of bursts of speed, and more agile in terms of reaction to attacks. The Carnosaur's intelligence as a beast of war is well established both in-game and in the lore of Warhammer Fantasy. Carnosaurs can bond with and take commands from a strong Saurus warrior at a young age. They're also mentioned as being cunning predators, seeking, stalking, and ambushing, like any other predator in our world. While this doesn't have any application for one in the wild, it does indicate some higher levels of intelligence. Deviljho's one remarkable hint of intelligence is using other monsters as tools, which unfortunately he will not have access to in a 1v1. Picking fights with very powerful wyverns on his level like Diablos or Basilgoose isn't exactly a fantastic idea if your metabolism causes you to be hungry all the time. He's probably burning an untold number of calories during these fights, with only a chance to actually get a meal out of it. Whatever higher intelligence Deviljho may possess is likely overruled by his constant and insatiable hunger, clouding any sense of judgment he might have underneath of it. I'm going to give this category to the Carnosaur. For this category, we will be talking only about their physical weapons. We'll be saving any sort of special weapons or abilities for later on. Let's get Bite Force out of the way, because God knows that's what 90% of you are going to comment about if I don't mention it. There are no official numbers, and we only have brief mentions of jaw strength in some sources. But both of these dinosaurs are clearly more or less based on T-Rex, so I think we can confidently say that they exceeded the higher estimates for individuals like Sue and Scotty, who bit with a force of around 55 to 60,000 newtons. Deviljho is stated to have a very powerful and bone-crushing jaw. However, the sheer amount of teeth in Deviljho's mouth makes the surface area in which his bite is applied a lot wider, hindering its maximum potential. The Carnosaur, if scaled up from the Tyrannosaurus, likely has a similar bite force to Deviljho after surface area is taken into account. However, it has far less teeth, and 4 of those teeth are canines built for piercing the thick hide and armor of other wildlife. It also features an ornate head crest, which could serve as an attachment for jaw muscles. The shell of the Bastiodon, the most well-armored creature in Lustria, is said to sometimes thwart the bite of a Carnosaur. So without having to do a real estimate of their bite forces, it seems that they're pretty on par in terms of their ability to crack through armor, just by different means. Deviljho's jaws are more so suited to crush through the armor of, say, an Apsaros or Basilgoose, whereas the Carnosaur's jaws are more suited to piercing through armor, sort of like the spike on the back of a Warhammer. And despite Deviljho's issue with surface area, he also has a corrosive saliva that helps weaken the armor of any animal he's biting down on. While he does do plenty of biting, his fighting style generally favors powerful blows. The odd tooth arrangement on his chin works like a mace, thrown around to slam into hunters and monsters alike. Likewise, his bulky tail is sort of like a flexible kanabo. He also has a powerful stomp attack, which can shake the ground beneath him with his wide feet. The claws of those feet, as well as his hands, are unremarkable as weapons compared to the Carnosaur. Like Velociraptor, the Carnosaur has 2 huge sickle claws on each foot, and another 2 on each thumb. These are designed for pinning or even mounting large creatures, as well as delivering precision strikes to critical areas like the neck, midsection, or between armor plating. The Carnosaur may have more precise predatory weaponry and even a more efficient set of jaws, but Deviljho's entire body is like a hulking bow staff, and his corrosive saliva makes up for his less than ideal jaw structure. I will be giving this round to Deviljho. Deviljho's body is covered in a tough, elastic hide. This skin is particularly resistant to slashing damage and allows it to absorb impacts while remaining mobile in a fight. Though Deviljho's primary defense seems to be his overwhelming offense, its rapid metabolism allows it to heal far faster than any other monster, effectively outlasting opponents through relentless aggression rather than relying on any sort of static armor. Of course, if you've played Monster Hunter, you know it can take quite a while to beat down a Deviljho even with the absurdly large weapons at your disposal. When Deviljho enters his rage mode, his muscles swell up so much that previously acquired wounds will reopen. While this may make the muscles themselves more resistant, the wounds that open and are unprotected by his thick and elastic hide leaves open a critical weakness for the Carnosaur to exploit. The Carnosaur is mentioned several times as having nigh impenetrable armor, being compared to industrial steel within the lore. In-game, they absolutely tank strikes from creatures many times their size, as well as arrows, firearms, cannonballs, and even powerful magic spells. A feral Carnosaur will hold up on the battlefield against some of the strongest armies and monsters for quite some time. Both of these animals would be able to take a hit from the worst they have to offer each other and keep going. Deviljho has almost no armor in comparison to his opponent, but can rapidly regenerate thanks to his accelerated metabolism. His rage mode leaves open sensitive wounds for the Carnosaur to exploit. On the flip side, while the Carnosaur's armor may be far superior, it doesn't have the same ability to regenerate from Deviljho's strikes as the battle wages on, and it can be worn down by Deviljho's corrosive saliva. This round is a tie, and points go to both brawlers. Crucial to understanding the power of any monster is knowing their feats and experience. Also important to note is that not every Carnosaur and not every Deviljho will experience the same things, but it's a good frame of reference for what these animals can potentially handle. Deviljho, whether he wins or not, will pick a fight with any monster he comes across. He's among the most powerful of the series' wyverns, taking on the top monsters of various ecosystems. Other powerful wyverns like Basilgoose and Rajang will give him a run for his money, but he can still come out on top. Past this, a non-Savage Deviljho begins to struggle. Savage Deviljho can take on some pretty strong Elder Dragons like Ruiner Nergigante and Velkhana, but our base Pickle doesn't stand a chance against the majority of Elder Dragons. Only Savage Deviljho has been shown to be capable of this. Most arguments stem from Deviljho's matchup with Rajang, who is shown to be capable of taking on Elder Dragons like Kirin and Teostra. A more impressive matchup is Deviljho's constant run-in with you, the player. The Hunters and Monster Hunter clearly possess superhuman levels of strength, each one of them wielding a weapon on par with Dragon Slayer from Berserk, and Deviljho can withstand relentless attacks from 4 of these hunters for up to 50 minutes. Carnosaurs are the most dominant predators in the jungles of the Old World, and are solely responsible for the extinction of dragons within Lustria, which in Warhammer Fantasy are more akin to those in D&D or High Fantasy as opposed to the more bestial dragons of Monster Hunter. They're larger than the Carnosaurs themselves, are powerful magic users, and are some of the most intelligent beings in the setting. More impressive than this is being able to go toe-to-toe with greater demons of chaos, which if you know anything about Warhammer is insane. And of course, as we've said, Carnosaurs can be made into beasts of war, ripping apart entire legions of men, demons, Skaven, lizardmen, you name it. Deviljho may face some tough opponents, but it has to go through a genetic mutation to take on more powerful creatures within its own setting. It just doesn't have anywhere close to the amount of feats and experience as the Carnosaur, meaning this point goes to the Carnosaur. Both of our brawlers have a Rage Mode ability that increases their power and ferocity. A Carnosaur will enter a rampage when they have either taken significant damage, slaughtered enough infantry, or tasted the blood of a powerful adversary. This rampage will spike their adrenaline drastically, pushing their muscular power and speed to the limit. They will often focus on one singular target, ignoring their surroundings or even commands from the warrior atop their back, with only spells from a Skink or Slann Mage Priest able to break them from this rampage. Deviljho will also enter a rage state when he has taken significant damage or is challenged by another predator. His muscular power and speed will also be further enhanced, though Deviljho's rage is far less focused and more like a berserker. Wide swinging attacks and chaotic, unpredictable movement make it hard to pin down his next move. And of course, in his rage state, Deviljho can emit Dragon Element from his mouth, a mysterious and supernatural form of energy that persists among the Elder Dragons. He is one of few non-Elder monsters that can utilize it. The electric/fiery breath attack itself can be shot from Deviljho's mouth like a ray or ball of fire, and it can also be shot into the ground where it builds up to create a massive concussive explosion. While the two are pretty even in terms of their psychological effects of their rage modes, Deviljho's ability to tap into Dragon Element could have psychological effects on the Carnosaur as well, but even if the more supernatural effects of Dragon Element are ineffective against the Carnosaur, its physical damage gives it a leg up in this category, giving the point to Deviljho. Which means the brawler who wins the first episode of Bestial Brawl is Deviljho. This is a pretty close fight. The types of foes that Carnosaurs take on, and its specialization as an anti-large creature, would more than prepare it for a fight with something like Deviljho, but I think Deviljho squeezes through with a win, the determining factors being his pure, unrelenting strength, and just absurd agility for his size. But let me be clear, this isn't a Deviljho beats the Carnosaur 100% of the time no matter what verdict. More so, if we repeated this fight 100 times over, there are ways for the Carnosaur to come out on top, but Deviljho wins the fight around 60 to 65% of the time. If he were to go against a more experienced and seasoned Carnosaur, his chances would drop drastically. Even a savage Deviljho would pale in comparison to a Carnosaur like Grimlock, who's been fighting creatures that make Elder Dragons look like puppies for thousands of years. But that's just my opinion. Who do you think won, and who would you like to see next? Remember, we will be pitting creatures both real and imagined against one another. Maybe even real versus imagined. Who knows? Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Bestial Brawl.
After feasting upon the lifeless Carnosaur, Deviljho picks up on a strange scent. Its eyes dilate and its mouth waters at the excitement of new prey, and he blindly rushes into the jungle, straight into the front gates of a small lizardman temple city. Deviljho tears through the poorly garrisoned settlement, shredding through an entire legion of skinks and cohorts of Kroxigors and Saurus warriors. These lizardmen were deep within their own territory, inexperienced and not at all prepared for this type of threat. They tried to defend their city, only to be hunted and devoured over the course of the next few days. For a moment, their silhouettes remind Deviljho of the hunters from back home, but that's too much thinking for the brute wyvern. Thinking makes him hungry. After many nights of tearing through this settlement of strange-looking hunters, the dreaded green beast took a nap, becoming drowsy from the sheer amount of food in his stomach. However, this food-induced nap was cut short by the sound of a war horn. Nakai the Wanderer and his army has come to save his vassalage from this brute. The hulking Kroxigor walks through the front gate of this city, flanked by a warband of Saurus temple guards, Kroxigors, and a particularly deathly-looking Slann mage priest, A1 Lord Croak. Deviljho rises to his feet and charges the warband. Lord Croak raises his hands, and from them a warm, glowing beam shoots towards the spikes on Nakai's back. Deviljho, confident this will be a cakewalk, opens its gaping maw to chop down on the Kroxigor's torso, but Nakai swings his great maul into the air, smashing it on the green beast's head. Not even the strongest hunters Deviljho had faced ever hit him that hard. Deviljho quickly rises to its feet, but Nakai has already mounted the creature at the base of its skull. He slides the handle of his maul underneath the beast's neck, yanking against Deviljho's throat. Nakai managed to hold Deviljho in place long enough for Lord Croak to approach the beast and take control of his mind with powerful Slann magic.
You are not of this world, but you are not of our enemies either.
Though the Slann could completely break the monster's will with just a thought, Lord Croak showed Deviljho visions of war and glory. The hungry beast sees himself devouring hordes of demons and rat-men, brawling with towering beasts of chaos, a near-endless supply of food.
These visions I show you will come to pass, and you will help us enact our great plan. Otherwise, I will allow my friend to dispatch you, and we will feed your flesh to our warriors.
Deviljho, still constrained by the strength of Nakai, gazes at the frog's masked visage, still rabidly hungry, but enthralled with this experience. Deviljho accepts the Slann's offer, not because he is afraid, but because an endless supply of demons and beasts to feast on for thousands of years to come didn't sound so bad. Deviljho submits and rises to his feet with Nakai atop his back, ready to take on the realms of chaos. So long as he gets fed.